You achieved in 10 months what has taken many people years to do. How did you do it?
Why are we trying so hard to be invited onto somebody else's stage? Why don't we build the stage ourselves? We are very purpose-driven. We do have a mission where we want as many women to be in decision-making roles in sport and business, because we see the difference they make. We see the impact that they have.
It's what we do when we work with people all the time, help them tap into their courage.
She asked me a question that nobody had ever asked me before.
What's the energy and vibe we wanted, and how could we build that? The elements around the day said energy.
We sold like 300 tickets in the launch.
I am just so inspired listening to you.
The event management team said they have never seen so many people stay to the end of a full day event as did.
It makes you really believe that you're onto something. Everybody in the room, it felt like they also on the stage took out their phone and scanned the QR code, and then our website crashed.
One of our friends said to us afterwards, who has ever bought a ticket for an event a year later with no venue and no speakers? They got so much from the day that they were like, yeah, we're in. Whatever you're selling, we're buying it.
Is it profitable to run a conference in year one?
In all honesty.
Don't Work Harder is the show for entrepreneurs who are ready to catapult their business forward, because we believe it's not about working longer, harder or smarter. It's about those braver moments. One bold move is worth 1,000 small steps. So rather than those small incremental movements that are moving you forward at a much slower pace, we're going to share with you the stories of successful entrepreneurs who've taken those big, bold steps to move them forward. This show is brought to you by Atomic, and I'm your host, Simon Randauer, and I'm here not only to share with you the stories of entrepreneurs and the success that they've had, but you'll also walk away with the insights of what they did at that exact moment when they made that change that moved their business forward. Have we got something very special coming up for you? This next episode is an ATOMICON special. This was filmed backstage at ATOMICON earlier this year with some of our speakers and some of our guests. If you're interested in joining ATOMICON next year, then head to our website. That's www.atomic.site, where you can be the first to see what keynote speakers we have and what breakout speakers we have, and grab your ticket. You're joining me for another ATOMICON special. Today, I'm being joined by Sinead Sharkey Steenson and Lisa Strutt. They are both leadership coaches in their own right who have joined forces to co-found Impact Players Conference. It's more than a conference, it's a movement. They're bringing together women in sport and women in leadership positions in business. And I can't wait to hear from them how they managed to turn around a conference in 10 months that was sold out, that would take most people 10 years. Hi, Sinead and Lisa. Lovely to see you. How are you both?
We're good, thank you. It's really nice to be here. We're excited.
It's an honour to have you both. So let me set the scene a little bit, just so that those that aren't familiar with you can just understand what it is that you have both achieved, and find out how we can kind of get into your worlds, maybe into your minds. You have to let me know. So I mentioned there in the intro that you have just delivered, just a couple of months ago, a sellout leadership conference. And when I was looking at the kind of who's who was there, not only were our very own Andrew and Pete there, as obviously, which is like clearly business royalty, but Gabby Logan, Olympians, top athletes, and leading women in business. And as I said in that intro, it's been quoted that you achieved in 10 months what has taken many people years to do. It's a really big question, I'm starting big. How did you do it?
Yeah, we're still asking ourselves that question a bit, but it probably starts with the idea. So as you said, we are both coaches. We've worked in sport for years, as well as in business. And we decided we wanted to do something big, and that thought really was about, we make huge impact in what we do. So we change women's lives, we change businesses, we help women get to the top and have maximum impact. And we were thinking about how can we do that on a much bigger scale, and how can we increase our own visibility at the same time. And so I am going to quote myself now.
It's always good when you can quote yourself.
But I remember coming to Lisa, I would be somebody who likes to come up with big ideas.
That's true.
There was a look there. Yeah.
And Lisa asks questions about how viable those ideas are, and that's how it flies or doesn't fly. But I came to Lisa and said, right, we do need to do something big. I just had this bit between my teeth, and we'd both been saying that, I think. And I said, well, why are we trying so hard to be invited onto somebody else's stage? Why don't we build the stage ourselves? And that's kind of where it started.
And Lisa, can you remember the first time Sinead brought it to you? What was your first reaction?
My first reaction was probably something like, that sounds like it's going to cost a lot of money and be a lot of hard work and effort. And we're not shy of hard work and effort, but it was one of those things where we were already busy doing our other things. We're coaching, we're delivering programs, we're working with governing bodies and sports organisations. Have we time to build a conference, the sort of thing that we would be proud of? And that was really the start of a conversation between us. Okay, well, if we were going to do that, how would we make that happen? What are some of the things we would need to do? And because I ask all the questions, I think that led the conversation of, okay, well, it could be possible if these things were in place. How would we put those things in place? And it grew from there.
So when I think about the fact that I was kind of said in the introduction, so I knew you both obviously, leadership coaches in your own right. You've both been in the world of like sport and leadership with women. You're working together. You have been delivering programs together, which were working successfully. What was that moment that made you think we want to go bigger? Like you spoke there a bit about visibility. Where does that level of bravery come from to think that actually we're doing okay? Life is busy. We're already spinning lots of plates. Where did that moment come from? You were like, okay, this is big, but we actually want bigger.
Well, I can't help but think big. So why have a crappy little goal and you can have a really big exciting goal? That would be kind of the thing. And I think we both share that. So when we've done programs, we're always thinking, what's the next level of this? How can we take this further? But there's always a burning thing of we're making impact. So when you work with sporting bodies or you work with a business, you're getting to impact that number of people that you're directly interacting with. And we just thought, how can we be a catalyst for bringing amazing people together and exploding the impact that we have? We're really driven by our mission. We are very purpose-driven. We've had very eventful lives, I think, that lead us to be really purpose-driven. And so we do have a mission where we want as many women to be in decision-making roles in sport and business, because we see the difference they make. We see the impact that they have. And so it was really about how do we bring the magic that we have together when we do a programme to something bigger that can help far more people and obviously can explode us as well as sports and leadership coaches. What can we do to bring it to a bigger stage?
Lisa, did it feel like it needed to tap into bravery for you at all when, you both just shared there that actually you've dealt with a lot in life. You're already in a position where you see the impact that it makes when women are in those positions. So how much of it required you, because you couldn't work much harder, right? You're already working really hard, but putting yourself out there on your own stages, not able to hide behind anyone else. Where did you dig deep for that?
Yeah, courage is a really good word. It's something it probably would be right up there with our top values. It's what we do when we work with people all the time, help them tap into their courage and step forward with courage into whatever it is they want to achieve. I think for us personally, we live that. I really believe in life is for living. And if you don't mind me sharing, my husband, he had pancreatic cancer at the age of 44 and died less than 3 years later, leaving me widowed with 3 teenage children. When you've been through something like that, and Sinead was my business partner all through that, and we supported each other and helped each other, I really have taken from that life is for living. So when you've been through something like that, running a conference feels like, yes, it's big and yes, it's challenging, but it's not going to be anywhere near as hard as that. So it gives you a fire in your belly that I'm going to make my life count for something. And there's no one better to do that with than Sinead, because she was there with me through that time. We still delivered our business through that time, and yet stayed together and supported each other. And now it feels like we can conquer the world. We can do whatever we want, because what's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah, absolutely.
You fail, you make a mistake, you learn from it, and you grow. And it couldn't possibly beat me. So I think bringing that to impact players, it was like, okay, let's do it. We know we're going to learn a lot, we're going to grow a lot. What's the worst can happen? And what's the best can happen?
We're going to take a short pause to hear from one of our sponsors. Sponsors help us make the best show possible. Don't Work Harder is sponsored by Constant Contact, the digital marketing platform built with small business owners in mind. With Constant Contact, you can grow your contacts list, send out more emails, organise social media and events, and simply get more done with their advanced automation tools. It's everything you need to grow your business, advance your automation, and attract more of the right customers all in one place. Visit constantcontact.com to get started. And Lisa, thank you so much for sharing that. And, I'm sure I was aware of the story. So for me, it still really touched me, but also I could feel that fire. And for the listeners that wouldn't have heard the story before, I'm sure, everybody would have felt very impacted by that. So thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
It wasn't necessarily where I was going to ask this question, but it feels really relevant to ask, which is the way you both, even the way you look at each other as partners, the way you speak about each other and the way you are with each other. Running a business in partnership, and we'll go back into the event shortly, but I feel this feels really relevant right now. Like running a business with somebody versus being on your own. What qualities do you look for? And is it better together? I mean, I think the answer is going to be yes, but tell me, I'd love to know.
Well, we do have our own separate businesses.
Yeah.
And I think we came together because we were accidentally put together by somebody. And it didn't start out massively harmoniously, I will say that.
No way. What happened?
Basically, we had both just started our own businesses, and they were very similar businesses. And we were put together. So we got involved in a network called Lean In.
Okay.
Which is all about supporting women in their careers. And the person that started Lean In Belfast put us together and said, you two do the same kind of thing. I think you could maybe work together. And so we were like, okay. And we went for coffee, and Lisa bowled me over, and I was a bit like, oh my goodness, what's going on here? Because you're just starting your own business. You're thinking Northern Ireland, which is where we both live, is quite a small pond to fish in. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Suddenly I've been put with somebody that feels like a competitor. And a bit of backstory. I'm an English person living in Northern Ireland and with an Irish name, which won't mean much to many people, but nobody looks at you with much trust in that situation. So it's like, who are you? You don't fit into any of my boxes. You know, I'm not sure what to do with you. And so meet Lisa for a coffee, and she was all full of support and help. And a bit of me was like, I don't know what to do with this. And she asked me a question that nobody had ever asked me before. She said, how can I help you achieve your goals?
Wow.
And I was like, oh, is this like a bit of a creepy business chat outline that I don't know about, or is this real? But thankfully, I did like something clicked anyway. And even though in the back of my head I was going, and it's weird because I'm actually a very trusting person, I would say. But I think I was just in a vulnerable place at that point. And thankfully, we said, right, let's do this. And we worked together for a year for free, putting on a programme for Lean In, a leadership programme that had a massive impact. And in that time, we really learned a lot about each other because we were building this programme around our own businesses. 800 women came through this programme, so you can imagine the scale of it. And we did a lot of it working late nights on Zoom. We did a lot of it in multi-storey car parks just before we went in to deliver the stuff.
What were you doing in the multi-storey car park? Right?
Like last-minute slides. Yeah. You do this, I'll do this. And what we learned quite quickly was we had an amazing chemistry together.
Okay.
And we worked really well together. And we had a lot of fun together. And I will say now, like, I love Lisa to bits. She's one of the best people I've ever met, you know, one of the best people in my life. And I'm forever grateful for that moment when we were put together because so much amazingness has grown out of that initial programme and meeting, and here we are.
Wow, thank you, Sinead. Likewise.
So when you look at the fact that when you make a decision, there's two people to consider for every decision, how does that compare to when you can make your own decisions then?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think over the years, Sinead and I have really learned to play to our strengths. We're very good at knowing what the other one is good at, where the other's contacts and networks lie. And so that's not really a problem. It's something that we enjoy, bouncing our ideas off each other. We have, like Sinead mentioned, the importance of trust. We have really good trust. So if I'm not available to make a decision and Sinead makes it, I'm pretty confident that it'll be in line with what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And so that makes it really easy to work together and move forward with fairly limited resources as a small business.
I think we've also learned to be really open and honest with each other. So we're probably quite unusual in that we can switch from really deep personal life chat into task for the conference chat, and we can do that without any gear change required, and we follow each other's thinking and do that. But it's because there is that real relationship and trust. We know pretty much everything about each other, and we really care about the success of what we do together. And to go back to maybe what you originally asked, why it's better together, is we've done a lot on our own, but it is lonely. It's challenging. I often say, so I work a lot with women in leadership positions that are, you know, in their 40s, 50s, and they've maybe got families going through perimenopause. They juggle lots and lots and lots. And I think we reach real decision fatigue as women. We carry so much. And to have somebody to share that load with is just
in business.
Amazing. But the fact that I get to do it with somebody that, you know, we just connect on every level.
We respect each other's expertise as well as being friends. I think that's really important, that you actually believe that the other person really brings a lot to the table and has that credibility, has that depth of understanding, and also is willing to learn and unlearn. That's really important for us. We challenge each other in our thinking all the time, and not everyone's comfortable with that. We're very comfortable with being challenged. We're very comfortable with someone throwing, you know, a bit of a hand grenade in the proceedings and then going, okay, what are we going to do with that? And coming up with something really positive that we can take forward out of that. Whereas I think, you know, you hear in other business partnerships, there's two egos in conflict with each other. That's not how we operate.
No.
Yeah, it definitely feels like the gold standard. I'm going to play this to my friends and say, like, this is how you have to behave. This is how you need to speak about me in friendship. But even in business partnership, and actually using that, I think there's some real gold in there about, you know, it is a burden shared, but also you're also opening up a whole other doors, somebody else's opinion, you know, someone else's, like you said, like, you know, throwing a boomerang just when you think you're going in a particular direction. I'd love to break down the event a little bit more then. So I've got an understanding about the fact that you were like, we want to be more visible, and rather than waiting for other people to put us on their stage, we're going to build the stage, which, you know, I have heard many women say many times before. So obviously there are a lot of women who are still feeling in that way. So you built the conference you wished existed. Now, I read that as I was kind of going through my research. What were the key elements that you knew had to be included?
Okay, I'll start with this because I actually hate conferences.
Okay, so, we are currently at ATOMICON, but I'm not going to take that personally.
ATOMICON probably changed my mind.
Okay, we love that. Yeah,
about conferences, and also it's not the conference itself. I hate how they're done. So I see. You know, my first experience of a conference was in the corporate world. We've both got about 20 years experience in corporate. I'm being sent to this boring tech conference. I'm being told you have to meet as many people as possible. Yeah. And then you have to come back and present everything.
I've been there. And
And it was like the worst experience of my life because I hate small talk.
Yeah.
I hate being in a room with people I don't know, and I didn't really like tech. It's just like the worst
Not a good room.
imaginable. But I do love something that moves you and inspires you and excites you and moves you to action. And I know Lisa loves that as well. And we love connecting with people. So whilst I would say I hate networking, I love connecting, I love building relationships.
We're twins, I relate. Yeah.
Love getting to know people. And we even had a thing at the conference. No small talk, just big talk. And we shared with people how to do that, how to ask questions like, you know, what's a dream that you've been mulling over?
So and people prompts.
Shared to do. And so that was the thing we wanted to create, like Lisa said, something that we really wanted to go to and we would love. So ATOMICON was a huge inspiration for that. But we've taken what we wanted and made it our own.
Give me a few of the elements, and if we were to put that into like categories, what would you say were the elements? Like, so you both agreed, you decided, right, we're going to do a conference. Would love to go into a little bit more detail on that in a second. But in terms of the elements, so that's what you didn't like. You knew how you wanted to feel. So could you like categorize those at all?
So we started really thinking about what's the energy and vibe we wanted and how could we build that out. So, for example, we opened the conference with a rock choir and a flash mob.
Wow.
We finished the conference with a ukulele band. We had a hip hop dancer partway through. We had an after lunch energizer. So the elements around the day said energy.
Yeah, I can feel it. Yeah.
And that you're welcome to come just as you are. So a lot of conferences that you go to in the corporate world, you feel like you have to dress up, you have to get your game face on. Yeah. There's a certain expectation of how you show up. We wanted our conference to be come as you are. It's more important that you build relationships. It's more important you connect with people. It's more important you get something out of this that is actionable, that's going to impact you in your life, in your career, in your sports club, whatever environment you were coming from. So those elements were really key to how we shaped the day in terms of the speakers, the panels, the pre-party, the lunchtime vibes. Was all around that energy we wanted to create and the outcome, the impact that we wanted people to have.
And that starts with communication as well. So even if you take the dress code for these kinds of things, like this is something women particularly stress about, like, what am I going to wear? Yeah. So we quite quickly said, well, we're going to be in our trainers, wear what you feel comfortable in, come ready to do the day your way, and there will be some movement and activity if you want to do it, and that kind of thing. And we took it from there really, and every piece of communication we were thinking about how are we building the buzz and the vibe, and we got a lot of feedback on that.
I mean, I saw it on social media.
People were really excited to come, and they kind of didn't know what to expect, but they knew it was going to be different. And then on the day they were just people were blown away. Like the room was so emotional.
Well, even when I was looking at the social media around the conference, like the energy. So I love that that's what you started with, because the energy really came across. And we'll go on to like how many tickets you sold for the next conference. You both had no experience of running conferences, am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we know you started with the energy and the vibe. What did you do next? How did you know what to do?
Well, I suppose one of the things was also, and probably the very first bit, alongside the energy and the vibe, was the idea, how are we going to stand out in the conference space? Okay. And so bringing together business and sport was the thing that we wanted to do for women, because we've worked in leadership in both for many years, and we could see the amazing potential crossover power behind bringing the two things together. But not everybody can necessarily see that, especially if you're not a sports fan. And so that crux of tapping into the sporting mindset and how to use that to propel you forward. Right, and we did think about it primarily for women in their careers. What we discovered was loads of small business owners came along as well, and they're like, I have never been more inspired. One woman said to me, I've been hiding behind my business partner since we started. I have never been visible. She was like, you've lit a fire in me. I am coming out into the world and nothing is going to stop me. And she's already done a social media campaign. She's already getting photos done. She's already doing videos. And so that magic idea of doing something a bit different, that maybe certainly for women isn't something that we'd seen done before, has inspired.
The vision and the idea.
Yeah.
And then what comes next? Is it like a wedding? Do you then is it? Right, okay.
It is.
That's a really good comparison. It is very much like a wedding, and being super organised with all the things that you have to think about. So getting that out of your head and onto spreadsheets. We have a spreadsheet for everything. We have a Google Drive that has all our docs in it that we can update at any time of the day or night, which we do, and we did, because we both have very different working patterns at times. And so being able to feed into that, to be able to plan, to be able to tick things off was really important to us.
Yeah.
And we would meet every Monday morning at the start of the week to kind of think about where we were at and what still needed to be done.
Yeah, I think some of the big things that we had to tackle, like we had never gone for sponsorship. We had never booked a celebrity speaker.
Yeah.
You know, we had never put together an agenda like this. So we had to work out, well, what were the nuts and bolts of it? So I think had we known everything that we would have to do, we maybe would never have done it. But we loved every minute of it. Like, it is the hardest and best thing I have ever done. And I think we were excited all year. Of course, there was hard bits, but we kept that excitement going through it, and we're even more excited for the next one. So yeah, working out who are the people that are going to reflect what it is that we want to do. So like, Gabby Logan was the dream, to get her, and then who is going to fit around that? Who's going to give the message, the power, the impact that we want? Because we want this to be maximum inspiring, and so that was a big part of it. And then working out what are the bits that we haven't got a clue about, and who are we going to get to do?
How did you know how many tickets you were going to sell? Because obviously you picked a venue, so the venue has. I could just saw Sinead go. We didn't. Yeah, but how does that work out then?
Yeah, there were loads of challenges that we had to think about. Even just, okay, if we book the venue and we wanted to book a venue that said we mean business. Okay. So that means it's expensive. It might be more expensive than another venue. Then the venue says, well, you know, what size room do you want? Well, we don't know what's possible. So we did a lot of research. We looked at what was possible. We looked at what we thought we could fill in terms of, okay, who do we know already who is a supporter and champion of us? How many of those people do we think will come?
It's literally like a wedding, right?
And then it's thinking about, okay, how do we maximise that? How do we go beyond that into our network? And
how do we not listen to the naysayers who say you can't sell more than this many tickets? Like, we were told we would have to give away at least 40% of our tickets.
Without saying the person's name, who told you that?
So it was another conference organiser who said for year one. So to go back a step, because it was our first conference, we did ask a lot of different people in different spheres, different industries and sectors. You know, how did you do your conference? How did that work out for you? So we had a lot of advice initially, and not all of that advice you follow. You don't follow every bit of advice you get in business, but we solicited a lot of advice, and we had to do our own research. And sometimes they were the most heated and challenging conversations, but also really interesting conversations for me and Sinead, because do we go with this piece of seasoned advice, or do we chart our own course? And Sinead has this phrase, we have to back ourselves. And so we kept coming back to that. Okay, that's what they're saying, but that's not really going to fit with our values and how we're approaching this conference. So what do we need to do? And that was a piece of advice where we said, hold on a wee minute here. If we're going to make this commercially viable, we're not giving away 40% of our tickets. What we will do is we will give tickets to up and coming young female leaders. Yeah. That's aligned with our values. That's aligned with what we're about as impact players. So that then became our give back, and we didn't give away any tickets.
So we set up a 5-a-side ticket where if you bought 5 tickets, we gifted a ticket to an up-and-coming leader.
What an amazing idea.
Yeah, which is totally aligned with who we are and what we do. And those people that came, it made a huge difference. And even though people said stuff like that, nobody was ill-meaning.
Sure, they just talk about their own experience.
Yeah. But that gave us a fire in itself, because we were like, well, we can't afford to give away 40% of our tickets. So how are we going to make sure that we are selling this out? But yeah, when it came to numbers, we just had to take a punt on ourselves and say, right, so we went with, we were told most conferences in the first year never sell more than 300 tickets. And this is in the UK, in Northern Ireland. It can be a bit different where we got the 40% advice. We went, right, well, let's give ourselves a bit more of a challenge. Why don't we aim for 400? And so that's what we went for.
I mean, honestly, I am just so inspired listening to you. What, and I know everybody else who's watching and listening will I am sure, feel the same. What surprised you, good or bad, about organising a conference?
A big surprise, like Sinead just touched on, was how hard it is in year one to get people to capture your imagination as well with the idea. We were so fired up. We were so committed to the idea and the vision we had, and we could see it in our mind's eye. And then we took that out to corporates, and they're like, I'm not too sure about the business and sport angle, or, I can't really get my head around how that's going to translate back into the world of business. And we're like, what do you mean translate back into the world of business? Of peak performance in sport and high performance in the workplace. That's one and the same thing. There's so many synergies. There's so much you can learn from each other. And we've got all these amazing women that we know in both these spheres who have something to bring. And that was a challenge, a surprise, and maybe a bit of a shock. And it was something we really had to work through and find ways round. But it was really good learning, and we learned so much from year one that we're going to bring into year two. Can I
ask a question there, actually? Maybe I'll ask you this then, Sinead. So Lisa's just shared that, you were so clear on your vision, and actually what's really coming across about you both, which isn't a surprise when we think about what you do, is you back yourself. I don't even feel like I need to ask the question, well, what do you do when your own voice says, oh, no, you can't do this? Because it's coming across that your voice is so strong. But what do you practically have to do when people in business are saying to you, we don't see the synergy? You've got a vision here. It makes absolute sense to you. It makes sense to me listening to it. But what do you do at that moment?
Well, you've got to love your idea, first of all. Like, if you're half-assing it, nobody's buying it. But when those voices came in, it does give you a bit of a knock. But I kept saying to Lisa, I don't think I've ever believed in anything as much in my entire life as that we were going to make a success of this. And it was that bit of backing ourselves. We were excited about it. We could see the potential of it. We could visualize what way it was going to happen. And so we just kept that really clear in our minds. And okay, you don't get it. We learned a lot about how we communicate and do that messaging and all the rest of it. But we were like, okay, we will take that and we'll try somewhere else. So it's that bit of keep pushing on. And if we can't back ourselves and we can't do it, why is anybody else going to pay for a ticket? Why is anybody else going to be behind us? And we also had the fact that we sold 300 tickets in the launch.
in the first week.
In the first
Wow.
week. So we had 300 people wanting to come to this, so we definitely had to make it a success. But it was just that. And we did it for each other, but I think we always had this belief that it was going to work. And of course, on your tired days, your hormonal days, all the rest of it, it can be harder to pick yourself up. But staying true to your purpose, what is it we're trying to achieve with this, your vision and your excitement and energy for it. Like, that's what kept me going.
Yes, and we had a plan as well. So we weren't making it up as we went along. Having the date is amazing for focusing the mind.
Yeah.
And
especially when Lisa sets a countdown clock.
Yeah, we had a
crap out of it.
We had a countdown clock, and that does really focus the mind when it comes to the plan and the actions that are needed to execute the plan. And another thing that was really, really good for us was we have an amazing network of people we've worked with over the years. And that was a really pleasant surprise. The number of people who came out in support of us, who amplified us on socials, who did believe in the idea, who volunteered on the day, who gave up their time to support us. And that was just a really humbling and also just really encouraging thing. We started with the word courage, and the people around us really encouraged us. There are people who, one person in particular who sponsored us, who just said, yep, I don't want anything in return for this sponsorship. I just believe in what you and Sinead are doing. And that's just remarkable when that happens, and it spurs you on. It makes you really believe that you're onto something. So we were really fortunate in that area as well.
And it's just such a reminder. And I think, this is what's so empowering about the story, that there is so much goodwill out there. And clearly it sounds like the goodwill just came out of every corner to help. People wanted this to happen for you, which is obviously a testament to you both. Question about the day. What surprised you on the day?
Lots of things.
What surprised us on the day? I suppose the actual coming together of the vision around the energy and vibe that we really wanted, and seeing it in the room. So the colours, our brand colours, Sinead and I had a designer design our outfits that were complementary to each other and also represented our personalities. So that was, a bit of detail that tied in with the whole vibe of the day. And just walking into the room and feeling the energy and thinking, wow, this is what we wanted, and it's here. That was just like a huge wave of emotion came over the two of us.
Yeah, when we got to the end of the day, and we did a lot on the day, so we wore all of the hats. We opened it, we did a keynote, we interviewed Gabby Logan, we emceed the day, we closed the day, we did all the things. But I think the overwhelming thing I was left with, first of all, the event management team said they have never seen so many people stay to the end of a full day event and stayed 2 hours, which was really exciting to hear. And especially as it's women who are the most busy people on the planet. So they were still there at 5:30. But just the overwhelming feeling of love in the room, to me, it was like real emotion. It was like everybody was lifted by the day. And whilst that's what we set out to create, to actually feel that you have achieved what your vision was, just honestly, I think we rode that high. I mean, I'm still on it a bit, but it just was nothing like I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah, it really just felt like winning a gold medal. It really did.
Yeah.
And one of the other things that surprised me was we prepared ahead of time to pitch for next year's event at the conference, and we were both a bit beforehand. Is this gonna come across okay? Is this gonna work? And we had practiced how we were going to do it, and in lots of ways, the energy took over of the day, and we made this kind of impassioned plea and said, if you've enjoyed this conference, say yes. And loads of people said yes. Would you like to come back and do this again next year? Yes, we would. Okay, well, take out your phone and scan the QR code. You can get your ticket for next year right now. And literally everybody in the room, it felt like they also on the stage took out their phone and scanned the QR code, and then our website crashed because everybody seemed to be like scanning in that moment. And how many tickets did we sell in that moment?
We sold at over 150 right there. But one of the funniest things is one of our friends said to us afterwards, like, who has ever bought a ticket for an event a year later with no venue and no speakers?
I mean, if anyone's ever watched the Firefly Festival, it isn't that. But amazing.
We're just pinning down the finer details. It will be even bigger and even better. But like that they got so much from the day that they were like, yeah, we're in. Whatever you're selling, we're buying it and we're here from it. Just feels like...
So it feels like it was tapping into that momentum that kind of propelled you guys. Is it profitable to run a conference in year one?
In all honesty, no.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I thought, but I kind of wanted to hear it from you.
We have at least a 5-year plan for this. So we almost broke even, which is apparently quite a feat in and of itself, especially because we put on a world-class conference. We didn't half-ass anything. People said it was the best food they'd ever eaten. The speakers were amazing. The whole day we had a pre-party, we had an after-party, we had, the day filled with exciting surprises and brilliant speakers and, great opportunities to connect. So we didn't skimp on the really important things. And so I know that we did well with what we've done. We do expect to make a profit in year 2, and we expect by year 5 for us to have built something huge, and that's where we're going with it.
I've no doubt. What did you... I mean, the drive that comes across from you both is like really quite incredible. But what did you learn about yourselves that maybe you hadn't realised before?
I think we built on a lot of what we'd learned about ourselves before, but we really learned our strengths under stress. So it was a lot to do in 10 months. You've said it, like Andrew Pate even said that's a conference that takes people 10 years to do. And so what we learned, I think the number one thing is we can do it. Like when you fully back yourself, when you fully believe in it, when you give it the energy that it deserves, you can make amazing things happen. And we really learned absolutely what, as a partnership, where our strengths lie, how we can, push forward and make something amazing together, and how to build that team then of a support system around us. So where we have the gaps, there's no point us trying to learn all of the stuff. We've learned to focus on what we're brilliant at, really put our energy into that and bring in the experts. So we didn't just get the best speakers or do the best, we got the best event management team, we got the best videographer, photographer, and we really looked at how are we setting this up as a world-class event, and then we bring the best of ourselves to that. So what are those things? And that's our passion, our delivery, our connection with people. And then, like, Lisa is the most amazing networker and relationship builder. I am all into the marketing and the communication and doing that side of it. And so we really were able to draw on everything that we could do and then build the team to do the rest.
And bearing in mind the fact that you know about your own strengths and you also know when to pull in other people, just to kind of bring us full loop back to the fact that we know the hard work that goes on there. But what is it, do you think, about being braver in business that matters the most? Like for you both, not only in just what you coach, but also in what you have delivered. Where does the bravery come in alongside that hard work?
I think it's about, for us as a partnership, but also for the people we coach, being able to look back on your life and know that you fulfilled your potential. I mean, that's what coaching is all about, be it Olympians, sports people in business. You want to know that, did you do your best to fulfill your potential and have an impact in whatever sphere that is? It doesn't matter what sphere it is, but there's nothing worse than thinking, I could have done better. I could have put a bit more effort in. I could have achieved something I really believed in, but I didn't because I was afraid, or because I didn't feel like I could ask, or I just didn't go for it. And that's what we do day to day with everyone we work with. And so it would be remiss if we didn't do it for ourselves and show people, look, it's possible. We don't have any magic fairy dust sprinkled on us. We just had the idea. We set out the vision, and then we went for it and risked messing up along the way. And there was an incredible amount of focus that we needed to have. So we did have to say no to some things. And I think that learning to do that and accepting that that's part of it, over the last year, to say no to some distracting things, to focus on we call it the race we were running, to stay focused in the race we were in, and we did. And it's an amazing feeling to do that.
And the fact that you're still on a high all this time, because I can see, like, all this time later, it's been just, so wonderful to kind of listen to this journey. And I genuinely have been leaning forward, listening to every detail about how you brought it all to life. And, sadly, we're coming to the end of our conversation, but I don't know if you two are ladies that have any spare time, but we have a little bit of a tradition, which is at the end of the podcast, I love to ask our guests what they are watching, reading and listening to right now. And it doesn't have to be in the world of business, but I wonder if you two have anything that you would like to share.
Oh. Watching is always hard for me.
There'll be no judgment here.
Because, I am a fully fledged TV addict.
Okay, great.
I love, you name it, I've watched it. At the minute, I'm watching Series 3 of White Lotus.
Okay, yeah. That's another one on the list.
Which I'm enjoying. It's a bit different. I usually like things with likeable people in it. White Lotus doesn't have too many.
Yeah, I've heard.
But still enjoying it. It's one me and my hubby watch together.
Okay.
So there's not too many of those. What I'm reading, well, I am the greatest person for business books for reading the first 3 chapters and going, right, I've got that.
I think you might not be alone.
I'm moving on. But this year I set myself a challenge to read more fiction because I'd stopped reading for fun. So I have read 7 books this year already, which, given that I probably hadn't read 7 books in the last 10 years.
Yes, it's really good going.
It's pretty good going. And so I can't even think what I'm currently reading, but I'm just loving getting back into anything from a Marion Keyes to something with a bit more meat and challenge about it. And I get really absorbed in books and feel like these are my friends and I live with them for a while. And so I always feel a bit bereft when I finish a book.
When it's done, yeah.
And then listening to...
Yeah, have you got anything on Spotify at the moment?
What I will say is I've a bit of a blast from the past. I'm not a podcast listener, although I do like a lot of comedy.
Yeah.
But my favourite thing at the minute, I'm going to see Alanis Morissette in a couple of weeks' time, and and she was
incredible.
big when I was at university.
Yeah.
So I'm revisiting the music of my youth and sitting in the hot tub, having a drink and listening to a bit of Alanis Morissette, ready to give it large when I go and see her live.
Brilliant. Love the shares. And yourself, Lisa?
Outside work, I'm very different to Sinead. So I rarely watch TV because I'm usually too busy hiking or being in the outdoors. So what I'm watching at the minute is Long Way Home with Ewan McGregor and Charlie Boorman on their motorcycles going around Europe. I'm a newbie motorcyclist, so I'm about to go on a 10-day motorcycle adventure around Scotland in a week or so's time. So I'm inspired by that. I absolutely love to read. I've always got at least 3 books on the go.
Wow.
So I'm reading a book at the minute called From Strength to Strength, which is quite relevant to what we've just been talking about. Actually, it's about what happens in midlife to people as their their intelligence starts to dim a bit, and they think, "Oh my goodness, what am I going to do with the rest of my life?" And they're the people who really make the most of the second half of their life are those who build really healthy, happy relationships and go on to use their wisdom and their experience to help others. So that's a really good book I'm reading. It's called From Strength to Strength by Arthur Brooks. And what I'm listening to, I'm always listening to music. I absolutely love music. I love everything from hip hop to jazz to 70s rock to classical music, the blues. So that's usually a Spotify made for you playlist based on my recent music is usually what's on my Spotify.
Thank you both so much. I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both so much. Wow, what a show that was. Talk about a masterclass in how 2 incredible women back themselves and pull a conference together in literally 10 months, achieving, as we kind of talked about, something that can take people years to achieve. What I loved about Sinead and Lisa is it wasn't even relevant to ask them, well, what happened when your voice of negativity came up, because actually that just doesn't happen for them. They back themselves, they believe in themselves, they have the most beautiful partnership. And I think we can all take away something from that conversation around what you can achieve when you are willing to take those really big steps and you are willing to believe in yourself, even when not everybody sees your vision at exactly the same time. So yeah, I can see why they achieved what they achieved. Thanks so much for listening to Don't Work Harder. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe and share. This show has been brought to you by Atomic, the home of epic business growth. Head to our website at atomic.site to hear more about our business programs and epic events.